Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for dropping by this video. It's my intention that this will be a short and simple introduction to a very interesting form of Buddhism. It goes by different names, Jodo Shinshu and Shin Buddhism being the most common names, and it was founded by a very humble and very wise Japanese man named Shinran Shonin. So it's sometimes also called Shinran Buddhism. So this type of Buddhism has the same foundation as all the other schools of Buddhism. Most importantly, the idea that the meaning of our life, the actual purpose of our life, is to become a Buddha. Many people don't know that. Even many Buddhists don't know that anymore because there's sort of this modern presentation of Buddhism as sort of self-help therapy. But actually, what the Buddha taught is a path of radical awakening to actually become a kind of limitless being. In the Buddhist sutras and scriptures, it speaks of a Buddha as a being that is omniscient, literally knows everything, and is literally one with everything. And not just that, but that what we think of as the historical Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, what he awoke to, he said, was actually nothing unique about, very special, but not unique to him, very precious, but actually the same journey that we're all on to awaken to this primordial wisdom, this omniscient, compassionate wisdom that lives within all of us. So Shin Buddhism starts with that same premise that all other forms of Buddhism, that at least Buddhism, when it's taught sort of, I want to say maybe in an accurate way, that's the journey we're on. And it also takes into account that we're in this cyclical pattern of birth, death. I don't know which way to go. I don't know which way the cycle goes. Does it go this way or this way? It doesn't matter. But what does matter is that it's a cycle of, of birth, death, and rebirth over and over and over. Now, many people on the spiritual path are familiar with the idea of reincarnation, and in fact, it's becoming a very widespread idea even to non-Buddhists and many people in the Western world are starting to believe in reincarnation. However, the Buddhist view of it is slightly different than how many of us think of it. The Buddha spoke of countless incarnations, that we have all been on this cycle of birth, death, rebirth, fathomless times. You know, to even say that we've done it millions or billions of times, from what the Buddha realized, that doesn't even come close, that we've been cycling through this since time immemorial. And so the purpose of what the Buddha taught is to free us from that cycle and to free us from the suffering that comes from that cycle. That's not to say that life doesn't have wonderful moments and that and immense joys and pleasures, and they all come to pass. They all end, usually in very painful ways. And of course, the inevitability of death. Not the most pleasant thing to think about, the fact that that everything we cherish and everything we value, everything that gives us happiness, will be taken away from us. And so the Buddha realized this and put forth a set of teachings to help us end the cycle of suffering and to come into contact with actual eternal happiness. And not just that, but to be able to lead other people out of this cycle into eternal happiness. So Shin Buddhism accepts all these fundamental components of Buddhism, But then it adds in it asks a question that no other form of Buddhism really does. And that is, can you achieve this on your own? Meaning, can you liberate yourself from this cycle? Can you become a Buddha based on your own efforts? Now, most other forms of Buddhism say yes. Shin Buddhism says no. But more importantly, Shin Buddhism says what's important is for you to reflect on this question and to really read the Buddhist teachings and reflect on this and come to your own conclusion. Shin Buddhism isn't just another set of beliefs. It's actually what it is it's a set, it's not a set, it's a way of reflecting on the Buddhist teachings and coming to your own direct realization of the truth. And so in this process of reflecting on, can I achieve Buddhahood based on my own efforts? Well, it might be a little scary to come to the answer no, if you feel that there's no other possibility, that you're going to be stuck in this cycle of birth, death, rebirth over and over. And Shin Buddhism offers a very interesting alternative to us achieving Buddhahood on our own. And that alternative is pictured right behind me, and what this is actually all about. A particular Buddha in Sanskrit named Amitabha, in Japanese named Amida, which this tradition originated out of Japan. And Amitabha and a Buddha, Amitabha and Amida both mean limitless light. So the Buddhist scriptures describe a particular Buddha named Amitabha who made vows and literally, this is a little hard to fathom for the Western mind, but literally worked for over 30 billion years to achieve such a state that anyone who entrusts themselves to him, to Amida Buddha, to Amitabha Buddha, and renounces their own attempts to attain Buddhahood would be able to receive a kind of what we might call a grace, literally be liberated through the light, the limitless light that Amitabha Buddha realized. So it's actually a path, in essence, what we could say of surrender, of surrendering our own attempts to become a liberated being and entrusting ourselves to a being that has made it out of this cycle and has very compassionately said, entrust yourself to me and I will lead you out of this cycle. So, and very interestingly, the way this occurs in the Shin Buddhist tradition is through entrusting ourselves. The promise is made that if we fully entrust ourselves to Amida Buddha in this very life, in this very lifetime, that we'll feel embraced and held by Amida Buddha. And when this lifetime completes, we'll actually be reborn in our next life into what's called a Pure Land, into a land where the conditions for enlightenment are perfect. In fact, if there's according to this teaching, and again, every person needs to inquire deeply within themselves, to the Buddha within, to determine whether or not this is true or not. Don't take my word for it. Don't take the Buddhist scriptures' words for it. Shakyamuni, Buddha, Gautama, Siddhartha Gautama, the historical Buddha, said, don't believe me because of who I am or what I say. You need to find out for yourself. And so in this Pure Land, it's written that if one completely entrusts, that we can have the experience of being completely held in this life and assured of our birth into this Pure Land And that upon arrival, all of our karma will be released. You could say forgiven. And we will, in that moment of awakening, become an actual Buddha, completely free of all suffering, completely omniscient, one with everything and knowing everything, and able to lead other beings there, having literally fulfilled the meaning of life. So it's a bit of a paradoxical path. Through admitting our inability to achieve this, we achieve it. It's very simple. Some of the most wonderful things in life are simple. And it is a little paradoxical, and some of the deepest truths are. So this is a very, very short introduction to this very profound subject. In the description link below, I'm going to send a link. There will be a link to an ebook that was, although I never was able to meet him when he was in his body, I consider him my teacher in this tradition, a wonderful man named Paul Roberts, as well as a link to his YouTube channel. And his book and his YouTube channel, I don't even have words to say. They not just changed my life, they changed the complete trajectory of my spiritual path. Because what I recognized is while I could make spiritual growth in the short term, I really wasn't able to maintain it. There were certain tendencies, you could say certain karma, certain karmic patterns that were just bigger than me. And so that brought me to a place of humility. And from that place of humility, I began to explore the idea of that there was a higher power, that there was something bigger than me that could free me from these karmic patterns. And through that exploration, it's been quite the journey. I found myself here. I found Amitabha Buddha, Amida Buddha, and this path of relying on other power as opposed to self-power. So thank you so much. Namo Amida Butsu, which means I take refuge in, I entrust myself to the Buddha of limitless light. And it also means thank you, Amida Buddha. Once we feel held by the light of Amitabha, then that same mantra, which at first, which was please, it also means please save me, please help me, Amida Buddha. And then once we feel embraced by that, it simply means thank you. Thank you, Amida Buddha. So I bow to the seat of Buddhahood that lies within you, dear watcher, lies within me, lies within all of us. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. If you have any questions, feel free to post them below.